In order to get revenge on her ex, my sister had a breakdown and admitted to having an affair with my fiancé 3 years prior. My mother was aware of this for months, but she kept it a secret from me. I'm sharing this in the hopes that someone would share their experiences, provide me some guidance or something similar. I simply don't know what to do. My heart feels like it has been torn out. Let's call him Jake, my fiancé. And I have been dating for 7 years. I can't imagine living without him. He and I remained together after we graduated from college, and took up residence in an apartment that we jointly purchased 2 years prior. We were scheduled to get married in July 2017 after he proposed last summer. So far, we haven't had many issues. My sister, who we'll name Sarah, is a very erratic individual. Although I lavished her with attention as a child, she struggled with numerous personal problems that caused chaos in our family. Her upbringing differed greatly from mine. In addition to having very little money and being close to divorcing, my dad had a history of physical abuse. Even though circumstances much improved in the years following my birth, this is the root of many of her issues. My parents used to let Sarah get away with some surprising conduct because they feel terrible about the way she was raised. Since I can remember, Sarah has been in a toxic relationship with the same guy since they were 16 years old, when they were together. They were madly in love, and they frequently split up and then reconnected. But more often than not, she would argue crazily, sometimes even physically. With him, then vent her annoyance and hopelessness on my parents and me. I recall lying with her in bed on numerous occasions while she sobbed so much that she would puke. She would strike herself and hurl glasses and plates at the wall after their arguments. She would occasionally strike both my parents and me. She was emotionally stunted and unable to look beyond their relationship, as if he were a narcotic to her. Her lover ended their relationship permanently 2 months ago. After almost 20 years together, he finally had enough. I'm not sure what gave. He basically vanished from Sarah's life by purchasing a one-way ticket to another nation, altering his phone number, and deleting all of his social media accounts. She has yet to disclose the reason behind this, but it was long overdue. It would be an understatement to say that Sarah was upset. She moved in with my parents after leaving their shared rental unit. She would alternate between fits of furious anger and near catatonic quiet while I would see her most days after work. She would be staring at the wall with tears running down her cheeks. We were all really concerned that she would hurt herself at one time, so we made arrangements for her to see a therapist, something I had recommended for years. She obviously canceled a few days prior to her appointment, and there were no repercussions. After all, she is an adult. She still acts like a teenager and hasn't changed emotionally in the whole time I've known her. It was 2 days ago. Sarah was in bed in her darkened room when I went to see her. I opened the door and tried to talk to her, sharing my workday with her. She erupted right away, hurling her pillows across the room, shouting at me, and sobbing violently. Life was unjust, she told me. That she was left to rot while I had everything. That she was a bad person, which is why everything in her life went wrong. She wrecked our family, hurt her partner, drove him away, and fucked Jake without feeling bad about it at the time. She repeated it. And at first I believed I had misheard. She covered me with what felt like a bucket of icy water. Shaking, I walked away in silence. Jake was watching TV when I arrived home. I said it as soon as I saw him, and I could see by the look in his eyes that it was true. He sobbed and informed me that it had occurred 3 years prior. Sarah decided to go over to Jake's in search of me after having yet another heated argument with her partner. Jake tried to calm Sarah while I was at our parents' house. As she sobbed in his arms, he consoled her, and one thing led to another. They had a sexual encounter. He followed me from room to room to room while I prepared an overnight bag. Weeping, he told me that he still doesn't know how it happened and that it was the worst mistake of his life. Claimed it seemed unreal to him and that he felt incredibly awful as soon as it was ended. He begged me not to go, so I left him at the doorway. I've turned off my phone and checked into a motel. I have no idea where to start, who to inform, or what to do. I feel as though I'm having a dreadful dream. It seems like a million pieces have been torn from my heart. I adore Sarah more than anything, despite all of her flaws. The two individuals are the most important people in my life. How in hell can I get over this? I have a sense of being in a bubble. I have no idea what the outside world is up to. I just sleep in this room and cry. Could someone please explain this to me? Hello everyone, this is the first update. I want to express my gratitude to everyone who gave up their day for me. I was so overwhelmed that I haven't replied to them all yet. But please know that I sincerely appreciate it. Let's go on to the update. Just about a day has passed since I published my piece. However, it seems as though I've been sobbing in the dark while hidden under the blankets in that hotel room for weeks. I made the decision to open the curtains and let the sunlight in this morning. For the first time, I turned on my phone and went to sit on the balcony. In less than 30 seconds, it began to ring. My mother was the one who started crying as soon as I responded. It was clear that she and my dad had been quite anxious. I've never gone this long without getting in touch, and I even considered calling the police because I didn't get back to them by this evening. My mother told me that Sarah was yelling and weeping that she was sorry as I was leaving her room, going down the stairs, and leaving via the front door. It's funny that I didn't hear this. I have no idea how. I believe that I was in such a state of shock that I was unable to comprehend my surroundings. To be honest, I have no memory of the drive home. Sarah was destroying her room and trying to cut her wrists with a blunt lino cutter, of all things, when my mom, the only other person at home, hurried into her room after I had closed the door. Sarah was a prolific artist. This obviously barely resulted in any scratches, but it gave my mom the impetus to act. She took Sarah to the hospital, where, from what I hear, she was admitted overnight and had some kind of evaluation. Amazingly, she has consented to receive therapy for whatever ailment she may have. My mother was taken aback by how relaxed she was on the journey there, voluntarily getting into the car and asking me where I was. Sarah appears to be deflated and resigned. For the first time in my life. My mother talked extensively to me about the struggles they had faced when Sarah was a youngster. I'm still in disbelief at some of what I heard, so I won't go into specifics. Sarah is not without accountability. Although she is now too old to attribute her behavior to her early years, my mother broke down in tears when she said that her greatest regret in life to date was not getting her to start therapy sooner. My mother acknowledged that she had known since Sarah's ex departed 2 months ago when I asked her if she knew why I had left. She pleaded with me to listen, even though I was struggling to keep from hanging up and felt like I was sinking back into that abyss. I'm too exhausted to come up with a new name for her ex-boyfriend Harry. Hello, Harry. She departed, and Sarah told my mother the whole truth. Harry was aware of it, but it was not the cause of his departure. Instead, after years of pleading with Sarah to get treatment, he had had enough of taking care of her and had repeatedly been ignored. When Sarah told my mother told Sarah. I must know right away, and I'm still unsure of the reason behind her sudden change of heart. In case anyone is curious, my dad believes that I've left because I've finally had enough of Sarah's actions. This is where the home truths now surfaced. I asked my mother if she was aware of the specifics. She said it had happened, and that was all I needed to know, but she was hesitant to tell me anything more. However, I informed her that until I had all the facts, I would not enter the residence. She went on to tell me that Sarah and Jake had shared a kiss during my dad's 60th birthday celebration, a few months prior to their bedtime. There was a lot of booze consumed at the big family get-together. Jake got really wasted with my cousins. I recall. Harry and Sarah argued, and he refused to come, so Sarah had a crying fit before she arrived. Before she came, she called me crying. Another thing led to another, and they kissed in the kitchen after Jake asked her if she was okay and gave her a hug at some point throughout the night. Sarah informed my mother that they both felt instant regret and promised never to bring it up again. However, Sarah knew he was unlikely to refuse her, so she purposefully sought him out the night they slept together. She freely acknowledged that she did it to exact revenge on Harry for cheating on her during one of their many notorious splits. I doubt that I even crossed her mind. I had heard enough by now. After more than 4 hours of phone conversation, I felt both physically and psychologically exhausted. I no longer have any chance of saving my connection with Jake. Their betrayal has affected the past 3 years, and I wonder if he liked Sarah the entire time in the years prior. A part of me isn't even interested in finding out. It's important to note that aside from sending me a single text saying I'm sorry, he has made no effort to get in touch with me. Take as much time as you require, as though I will eventually return to him. The situation is still uncertain. Since I'm unsure of my future destination, I don't feel prepared to check out of the hotel. These disclosures seem to have completely upended my relationship with my mother. I have no idea what will happen to Sarah. I'm not sure how I'm going to handle my apartment with Jake, where I'll be living. I'm not even sure whether I still have a job. I simply haven't arrived at work. However, even the smallest part of me feels thankful that I am aware of the truth. A ache I never thought conceivable consumes the rest of me. The only thing left to do, I suppose, is to wait and watch how things work out. But you won't believe how much it has helped to read your letters and comments. Many thanks, many thanks, many thanks. Additionally, I implore everyone who has ever encountered someone who is obviously distressed, or who has ever experienced symptoms similar to Sarah's to get treatment before it's too late. Hello everyone, this is the second update. Since I've been getting a lot of messages in the last few days asking how I'm doing over the holiday, I thought I'd offer a last update to my initial article. I want to thank everyone once more for their overwhelming support during the past month. It was heartwarming and overwhelming how many messages, links to resources, and offers of support were sent. The past several weeks have been a whirlwind, so I apologize if I never got around to responding to them all. Still, I will always be thankful. So, following my talk with my mother, I started over when I discovered that she was aware of Jake and Sarah. I turned off my phone once more and stayed in my hotel for an additional 5 days. I should clarify one thing: based on the comments on my previous post, my mother was unaware of Jake and Sarah's existence from the start. Instead, Sarah had informed her about it when Harry abruptly left, so she was aware of it a few months before I was. I finally made the decision to call in to work because I had had enough. When I told my supervisor, he wasn't upset or even shocked. After our talk, my mother contacted to inform him that I would be unreachable for the foreseeable future due to a family situation. He suggested that I wait until the end of the week, but if I needed more time off than I had already allowed myself, I would have to attend a meeting. I'm back at work and attempting to get things done now that my job was somewhat safe. I returned to my parents after this. Sarah was at home as well, but she was hiding in her room. When I entered to visit her, she was painting. She probably has BPD, as many of you guessed. My parents, however, are awaiting a second opinion. She appears to be a little better and attends counseling once a week. When she saw me, she started crying, and we had a lengthy conversation during which she told me how deeply she was affected by her and Harry's destructive relationship. She characterizes the anguish as relentless, but she knows it's for the best that it's finished. His absence hurts just as much as it did when he was with me. Since I haven't permanently removed her or my mother out of my life, I know many of you will be disappointed. When I think about it, I still get a sick feeling of resentment. But in all honesty, Jake is the one I blame the most. Jake spent enough time with me to observe some of Sarah's actions. He decided to do what he did despite the fact that she wasn't feeling well. Although it takes time, I can't permanently remove her out of my life because she is my sister. Perhaps that is a good thing because things will never be the same again. After learning of the events, my dad drove to my apartment and packed an overnight bag and some clothes. My parents haven't heard from Jake since I left, and he wasn't home. Since this came to light, neither he nor his family have made an effort to get in touch with me, and I have no idea where he is. I have not made any attempts to get in touch with him. His family, or his friends, and his social media accounts have vanished. Last Monday, I started the gradual process of telling my pals. Other than stating that Jake was not who I believed him to be, I did not elaborate on what transpired. All of them have suspected cheating, but they have no reason to know who did it. I've alternated between sleeping at my apartment and staying with my parents. Since the memories hurt too much right now, I sleep on the sofa bed. Since Jake and I share ownership of the flat, I will need to get in touch with him soon as I look into selling the place. When I'm a little stronger, I'll deal with that. Sarah and I had a peculiar and depressing Christmas day. However, we spent it together as a family, and the anguish was at least somewhat lessened during the few hours we spent eating and watching movies. I found a sequence that stayed with me as we were watching the several films and TV shows we had recorded. It concluded with the words, "La familia es todo." Though it's getting better, I still spend the majority of my days with a hole in my heart that hurts more than anything else I've ever experienced. For the first time, even though I know I still have a long way to go, I have faith that I will succeed. I appreciate you reading. The next story is that GF's closest friend wanted to cancel our anniversary trip so he could attend his show, so he called her babe and FaceTimed her at 2 in the morning. She abruptly changed and begged me when I finally had enough. I've been dating my girlfriend Sarah, who is 26F, for a little over a year, and although I adore her, there's been something bothering me ever since. Jake, her 27-year-old male best buddy, has been Sarah's ride-or-die companion since college, and I could tell they were close right away. However, I was unaware of the extent to which it would affect our relationship. Instead of being the guy who feels threatened by a platonic friendship, I've always strived to be the laid-back, trustworthy lover. To be honest, though, I feel like I'm the third wheel in my own relationship at this point. Sarah and Jake are almost inseparable. They get together several times a week for dinners, movie evenings, and impromptu late-night trips, and I'm typically left out. I feel as though I'm interrupting their private, humorous world, which I'm not a part of, if I attempt to enter. Although it hurts, I made an effort to ignore it in order to maintain harmony. Then, however, things began to go too far. Even when we go on dates, Jake never stops texting her. Additionally, it's not simply casual stuff. When I mentioned this to Sarah, she smiled and said it was simply their thing and had no significance. He refers to her as babe and sweetheart. It seems that they have been referring to one another in that way for years. However, it seems to me that there is more to it. In a relationship, who calls their best buddy babe? Then there was the night I spent at her house, and when I woke up at 2 in the morning, I saw Sarah FaceTiming Jake. She was whispering to avoid waking me while giggling like a schoolgirl. The following morning, when I questioned her about it, she dismissed it, claiming that Jake needed someone to talk to. However, what about me? Is my presence merely background noise as she remains emotionally attached to this man? Last weekend was the last straw. For months, Sarah and I had been anticipating a special weekend getaway to celebrate our 1-year anniversary. Suddenly, though, Jake asks her to a concert that same weekend. Since Jake and Sarah both adore the band, Sarah asked if we might reschedule our anniversary vacation so she could accompany him. I was blown away. Could we simply reschedule our anniversary, which we had been organizing for months, for Jake? It seemed as though I had no significance. I informed her that this was unacceptable and requested that she establish some clear rules with Jake, such as not using pet names, spending all of her time with him alone, and most definitely not putting him before our relationship. She lost her temper with me, accusing me of being insecure and domineering. You knew Jake was a part of my life when we started dating, she even added. Why are you now attempting to alter me? Jake reportedly informed her that I was trying to control her and was being toxic, which made things worse. Sarah is supporting him by claiming that nothing has ever transpired between them and that I'm exaggerating. Having given her an ultimatum when all I truly asked for was some limits that would make me feel like her boyfriend and not simply a supporting character in her life with Jake, has now made her angry with me. Sarah is now ignoring me, and I'm beginning to believe that I've somehow turned into the bad guy in my own relationship. Am I going crazy with this? I'm not requesting that she stop seeing Jake altogether, simply to respect our relationship and put us first. However, I might have been irrational. Is my girlfriend's bond with her male closest friend too close for comfort, or is Reddit right to encourage her to set limits with him? October 6th, 2024. As an update. I'm back with an update, Reddit. And I must say that it didn't go at all as planned. I want to start by expressing my gratitude to each and every one of you for your incredible support. After speaking with a few of you and going through the comments, I had already decided. I was prepared to leave my relationship because I was tired of coming in second. However, I was shocked by what transpired next. Sarah stopped by to chat on Saturday night. She told me something unexpected before I could say anything, even though I was ready to have the breakup talk. She and Jake had canceled their planned concert. After our most recent talk, she claimed to have recognized how serious I was, which caused her to reflect on everything. She admitted to me that she had been selfish and had been assuming we would always be together. She said that she had informed Jake that she couldn't attend the concert and that she preferred to spend the weekend with me alone, without any outside distractions or third wheels. To be honest, I was taken aback. I didn't believe it in part. I had been urging her to establish limits with Jake for months, and now she was doing it? It seemed improbable, like a last-ditch attempt to fix a broken object. She appeared honest, though. She expressed regret not only for the concert incident but also for ignoring my sentiments for so long. Ignored my worries and put Jake above us. She said she didn't want to lose me and acknowledged that she had been oblivious to how much it upset me. It was sentimental. She was crying, and I could see how much the thought of me leaving worried her. She seemed to be picking me for the first time in a long time. The problem is that, even though I was grateful for her apologies, it didn't make everything better. I informed her that although calling off the concert was a wise move, the hurt was still there. I still had the feeling that I had spent too much time in competition with Jake. Because it's difficult to restore confidence after it's been damaged. As planned, we ended up spending the weekend together. We remained home, cooked together, and spoke for a long time about everything our relationship, Jake, and the future instead of taking the big anniversary trip. It was an emotional roller coaster. Sometimes I thought we might be able to work this out, but other times I thought the harm was too great to be fixed. I was emotionally spent by today. I wasn't sure, but Sarah appeared to believe that things were moving in the right direction. I needed time to reflect. I so advised her that we should take a vacation, give one another some space to think, and decide whether or not we wanted to continue our relationship. It wasn't warmly received by her. She sobbed once again, pleaded with me not to go, and promised to show me that she was sincere about her desire to change. However, I required solitude in order to declutter my mind from the incessant tug of emotion. So I went out. Since then, I haven't spoken to her. We decided to wait a few weeks before making a decision, but to be honest, I'm still inclined to call it quits. After everything, was it really possible for her to have established limits with Jake? After months of pleading, I find this hard to believe. Although her efforts are appreciated, I feel as though I've already checked out of the relationship, and I can't get rid of the feeling that it's too little, too late. Sarah will always hold a special place in my heart, but this whole experience has shown me how crucial it is to be with someone who respects and cherishes you right away. Someone with whom you don't feel like you have to fight for their interest.